And so what we're going to do very simplistically is understand that we've got ministries in the church. If this was a time where I had a whole group of pastors together, and I were to try to go into an intensive training time with the pastors, I would ask every preacher, and by the way, pastor, it would be good. The pastor of a church would be very good for you to do this. Write down every ministry in your church. Every ministry. Think about it with me for just a minute. Nursery, Sunday school, youth, bus, Christian school. It doesn't make any difference what it might be. Awana. We could go on and on and on. Jail ministry. And we can go into soul winning. And all the different kinds. Write them down. Radio ministry, television ministry. It doesn't make any difference. I want you to think with me for just a moment. It's very important for discipline's sake that you understand that every ministry has but one function. Every ministry has but one function. The Bible said a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Very simply, I think God is teaching us a great lesson there. We've got to train our people to understand what their function is. What their function is. Can I just jump right in it and tell you a couple that I'm going to assign? This is the way we used them, and I'm going to ask you to consider using them exactly the same way. In fact, it's very imperative, I think, for you to do that, to follow the principle of church growth that we're imparting. You see, here is our soul winning. We're feeding. Over here, let me use this great, great ministry that I love, Sunday school. Sunday school. Now, that was a good friend of mine who does national reporting on Sunday schools. And he defined the Sunday school this way. He said the Sunday school is the reaching, keeping arm of the church. I looked at him, I said, have you made your mind up yet? What do you mean? And we talked about that for a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to get a Sunday school teacher to stand up, and I'm going to stand him on a platform and say, sir, lady, it's your job to reach the whole city and keep the whole city. Now, there are some churches that use the Sunday school primarily as a reaching ministry. That's okay, as long as they understand the function they want it to handle. But also, it's very imperative that we understand that the Sunday school can be a keeping, which is what I'm going to suggest. See, in the churches I pastored, I really did not need the feeder. You'll understand that in just a moment. We're going to feed numbers of people into the church. We're going to talk about how to do that. In fact, the whole Soul Winning Directors Institute is just geared at one thing, developing a leader who can train your people to just feed people into the church. That's a very important function. But wait a minute, the Sunday school director, the major function of this Sunday school director is to build the structure and create the people that exercise a function to keep the people we win. First church I pastored, I didn't have any trouble with big days. We'd hit 1,000, then we'd hit 2,000. One Sunday we broke 4,000. But I'll tell you, the thing that was so hard for me at that point, I said, I didn't tell anybody else. I was positive. You always have the people that come along, where are they? You won so many to Christ, where are they? And I just, I had the positive statements, but by myself, I began to ask myself the question. I began to pray about it. And I said, hey, I'm not keeping the amount of people I ought to be keeping. I did not understand what I'm going to impart with you about the whole business of being a Sunday school director. I did not understand the importance of this. So watch this. We've got the reaching. We've got the feeder over here. We've got the image where we put the image of Jesus Christ. And we've got the keeper. If we've got people that are trained and ministries that are put into that area, then our people can understand what to do. I'd like to jump from these two sides to the center and give an illustration, if I may. Normally, we get the choir up and the choir off to sing. And let's say we've got a rule, and we say, no chewing chewing gum. Our normal way of handling it is this. Somebody chews chewing gum, we look right at them and say, I told you not to chew chewing gum. You do not chew chewing gum in this church. Let's make sure that's clear. If you're going to chew chewing gum, you cannot sing in this church. That's sort of how we handle it. Not too good. Don't you think it'd be a whole lot better to say, choir, listen. When you're setting in the choir loft, when you're singing, you're putting the image of Jesus Christ on the people that are watching your ministry. When you chew chewing gum, what does it communicate to them about the gospel? When the preacher preaches, you need a Bible in your hand. If you do not have a Bible and don't open your Bible, to an unsaved person that's visiting, the Bible doesn't seem important. When the preacher tells a joke and you've heard it before, laugh at it anyway. It's very, very important to do that. Now, I think when we begin to see that, we begin to see the importance of training people in the ministry for the function that they ought to be doing for Jesus Christ. In fact, we put a big poster on the back of our wall once in a while, and on that poster, the choir would sing it when they come out, and it said this: "Sing your song carefully, it may save a soul from hell." We wanted our people to understand what their function was, what they were doing. And that's a very important thing, I think, for us as leaders to begin to understand. Now, let's briefly jump over here to this area that I call the feeder. Let's talk about the Soul Winning Director. Let's talk about the Soul Winning Director Institute. Let's talk about training soul winners. As I begun to tell you the story a moment ago, when we went to Michigan, I started 32 people one Sunday morning. That night, I knew what I was going to do. I'll show you why in a moment. But I knew what I was going to do. And I got 2 men. I said, "Men, meet with me tonight. Let's have a cup of coffee." And I made a commitment to them. I said, "Listen, if you will meet with me 2 hours every week for the next 13 weeks, I will train you to be as good a soul winner as 98% of the preachers in America." And they said, "Boy, we'd love to do it." I said, "Now listen, you need to go out on visitation with me 3 to 4 hours a week. I'll take you out Monday night. I'll take you out Thursday night." I said, "In addition to that, you need to be there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Be there when the church doors are open. Be faithful. Want the power of God upon your life. I'm going to sign some verses. I'm going to give some curriculum, some reading, and some tapes to listen to. You're going to memorize the 13-point plan. You'll know it so well. You'll know it backwards and forward." Listen, we started. And we started was me. Now watch, me plus 2. Me plus 2. What happened is this. After 13 weeks, we had won people to Christ. Some came to church and made it public. I brought these 2 men to the platform, and I graduated them. From where they were trainees to now they became trainers. And I said, "How many of you would like to have the same kind of training they've had?" I had 16 people that wanted to be trained. I could only take 3 because each one needed a trainer. So I picked 3 men, brought my wife in, excellent soul winner, 1 lady. Now we had 8. At the end of 6 months, we had 8 proficient soul winners. Then we went back to the church when we graduated them. How many of you like training? I now had over 30 that wanted to be trained. I could only take 8. When the church was 9 months old, 16. When the church was 1 year old, 32 trained soul winners. Watch the potential of the second year, 64, 128, 256, 512. We really did not do very well. When the church was 2 years old, we had only trained 192 soul winners. In 3 years, those soul winners that we had trained had won nearly 5,000 people to Christ. No wonder on our 3rd anniversary, we were able to hit nearly 2,000 in attendance, and that was our first Sunday in our brand new building. Why? Because we had a group of people that were trained